Let me just make sure that I am focused. Hello. I'm Gayla, and this is my experience growing up in a home with a parent who's a hoarder. I don't usually talk about this specifically in front of a camera or anything like that. I usually only sometimes talk about it with my friends, my boyfriend, and my therapist. I do have some notes that I wrote and a bunch of crystals over here. So if you see that I'm looking at a notebook, it's because I'm just making sure I say everything I want to say. This particular experience in my life has left me with a lot of shame, humiliation, and I feel alone with it because no one in my life has experienced this, and I have someone to talk to about it that understands. So I'm trying to find connection through this circumstance that has brought me a lot of shame. I'm sure that the people who find this video are going to be the people who understand. I'm anticipating that when I say things about feeling shame or I talk about specific circumstances, those characteristics that my childhood home had, I'm hoping that the people who find this can bring empathy and not judgment. That's always a scary thing when talking about this. I never want this to sound like I am bashing someone who has this disorder, because it is a disorder. It's particularly my parent, who I love very much. And they had a very difficult life growing up, and their mother had a really difficult life growing up too. And I'm sure those traumas trickle down and become my parents' traumas in a way. A friend of mine said this really amazing thing. She said, there are times when we are the casualties to our parents' trauma, or to our parents' addiction, or disorder, mental illness, whatever. My parent was too, and their parents, and so on and so forth. So I want to talk about this with understanding and compassion for the people who struggle with this illness. When I was doing my own research, I found out there was a chromosomal abnormality in people who are hoarders. So long story short, it is like a condition. It is a disorder, and it is a mental illness. And I was also watching a really great spiritual video about it. It's by this woman her name is Teal Swan. I highly recommend it. I'll put some information and resources down below, one of them being that video. And she said hoarding is a coping mechanism. It's something that people do that protects them from fear, shame, anxiety, anything like that. So I thought that was a really interesting thing just to bring up, just to bring some understanding. It's not like they're doing it. I understand that my parent wasn't doing it to hurt me. It's also important to acknowledge there needs to be accountability because it did hurt me. And I'm sure it hurt you. I'm mainly speaking to the people who were in my position, the children living in those homes, because that's the healing that I need to work on, and that I want to bring connection for me as well. I want to provide that connection by saying my experience, having you all watch my video. Even if it's 2 people, I don't even care. If 2 people watch this video, I'm getting emotional. And they can understand something that I feel like a lot of people in my life don't understand because they haven't had those experiences. That brings me connection, and I'm hoping that will bring you connection too. I'm gonna take a second. Okay, we are back after a short break. I have a feeling that will happen often because talking about this brings up a lot of stuff, a lot of deep-rooted stuff. Just a little bit about me so you understand my specific circumstances more. I was adopted at birth by an older couple. One of them has already passed away, And the other is the parent who I'm talking about, who basically raised me as a single parent after they got divorced from the other parent. I'm using parent as opposed to specifying who specifically, just for a little protection and keep it a little bit more private. Okay, so we were living, all of us were living in, and I'm a single child, living in an apartment in a nice area, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. So things started to really become severe as opposed to just cluttered when I was about 5, because my parent, the parent who is a hoarder, their parent died, their mother died. And I think that was the trigger of really heightening this disorder and these tendencies. It started off really bad in my parents' room. Newspapers were covering the floor. And I really blocked out a lot of my childhood for obvious reasons and for other reasons. But I have this memory, it's like a little image of both of my parents sitting on their bed. There's newspapers all over. And my one parent who was not a hoarder, they have this huge trash bag and they're trying to throw away the newspapers, old newspapers. And my other parent, who is a hoarder, is telling them why it's unacceptable that they're doing this. And they're getting very nervous and it's almost aggression is coming out. And that's what happened when I think this other parent who wasn't a hoarder would try and do things like that, is they would be met with this person saying, no, you cannot do this. I didn't really understand what was going on at that age, at that time. But, okay, so fast forward. My parents are getting a divorce. And my one parent who is not a hoarder is moving out and leaves me in the home with the hoarder parent, which is a whole other thing. And I'm sure that triggers it even more, the tendencies. So what the house looks like at this point is the bedroom is completely covered, obviously, with newspapers, old clothes. They had their own bathroom. It was like a master bedroom that had their own bathroom suite connected. And instead, not a suite, it's like a tiny little bathroom. And that bathroom was not being used as a bathroom, it was being used as a closet. The mirror was broken in there, and there was like random wicker chair in there, and maybe it was stuff from my parents' mother's home, I'm not sure, but what am I trying to say? Trash bags filled with old clothes are in there. Nothing's being thrown away. My parents' bedroom is kind of unusable. Ugh, I just had a memory of like the dust. There was so much dust in there. Ugh. And I have no memory, not one, of my parents cleaning that house, ever. Since when I could remember. I have no memory of them cleaning. We did have a cleaning lady at some point when I was younger, because both my parents were working a lot. And I had like a babysitter, and they actually had to quit because of how they couldn't clean anything. It was too dusty. It was bad for their health. They had to quit. And so like no one really stepped in. Because their room isn't usable, my parent is sleeping on the couch in the living room, and now bags of trash are being accumulated there. There are times when they ask me, this is very uncomfortable, they ask me if they can sleep with me in the bed. And at this point I did have night terrors. I had a lot of issues sleeping at night. I would ask them to put me back to sleep or like sit while I was falling back asleep, because I had so much trouble falling asleep sometimes. Because my room was a lot more neat and well kept, they would like want to sleep in the same bed. I think at one point, this is so weird, we would sleep together on the pull-out couch in the living room. It was like very strange. Very like not good boundaries, very uncomfortable. Whenever anything would become broken in the apartment, no one could come and fix it because my parent would get in so much trouble. I would definitely be taken away with child services or something. But my parent would get in so much trouble if anyone from the building management saw this apartment. While this is happening, I'm like in elementary school, middle school. People are asking me, why do we never go to your house? Why do we never go to your house? And the things that I was trained to say were, we're doing renovations. My parent is having a meeting at the house, something of that sort. I would go to my other friends' homes and they were so nice. Or not rich, just nice, clean homes. And for a while I just assumed, okay, well, that's how they're supposed to live, and I'm living the way that I'm supposed to live. Things started to get really bad, like really unlivable, really dirty, disgusting, because the bathroom, the shower drain, it was like a tub and a shower connected. The shower drain got clogged. This is a very like sensitive subject. So the shower drain got clogged, and obviously no one can come to fix it. And I didn't know how to snake a drain. I was probably 12 or 13. And my parent does nothing about it. And oh my God. You know how when you're taking a shower and I'm sure some of you have already had this experience where your shower drain gets clogged and it's a bath shower. And when the water fills up, because you're washing your hair, all of the shampoo and conditioner is in that water and it just sits there and it drains really slowly. So all the sludge is all around the shower or the bathtub now. And I remember my parent, instead of fixing the shower drain, this pisses me off, they took a knife, like a metal knife, and scraped the side of the tub to clear out the gunk. It was like, now I can look back and I'm like, what is going on? Because of this, and I had to work on this a lot in therapy, I developed this core belief that I will never get clean. That is probably one of the biggest things that have had a lasting effect. Sometimes I've done a lot of work on it though, but so because of that, I would have such a compulsive fear that I smelled bad. Even now, I feel like I have to tell everyone who's watching this, I didn't smell bad. I really was clean. I really took care. I tried to take as best care of myself as I could. It's stuff like that that just kills you, because a basic need is being clean, a clean environment. And that bathroom had mold on the ceiling, and I was living there while I was developing. Luckily, I don't really see much crazy things wrong with me, but emotionally it was extremely traumatizing. What's very interesting is when my parents got divorced, before the house got extremely horrible, I was put in therapy because my parents wanted me to have someone to talk to while the divorce was happening. And I was in therapy for a while. Then I was having a lot of difficulty in high school. I was sent to a wilderness program, which I could do a whole other video about. But I was sent to a wilderness program, and then I came back and did CBT therapy for eating disorder, self-harm, all that kind of stuff. And now, after doing so much work on myself, I realize I didn't really talk about the home that entire time I was in therapy. I only recently started working on the home in college with my own therapist that wasn't connected with my parent. That pisses me off because it feels like I was being treated as the problem, as something to fix. I had all the problems. Instead of my parent, or both of my parents, one of them who was useless and like left me, and my other parent who was a hoarder, they didn't really explain to me or leave room for the possibility that the way that I was coping with these horrible living conditions were to take it out upon myself. If any of you are in this position, living in this home, have lived in this home, I would implore you all to see and notice tendencies or self-destructive tendencies, if there are any. Are you taking out this shame and frustration about the situation on yourself? Because that's not fair. On the flip side, it is very difficult to talk about this with like your parent, if your parent is a hoarder. Me and this parent would have amazing, emotionally deep conversations. Maybe more so now that I'm older, and they're older, but we would be able to, and they would be able to help me through breaking up with a boyfriend and all these things. They loved me so much. I really feel that they loved me. On the flip side, the only real thing that comes from talking about it with them are these empty promises. When I was sent to the wilderness program, I was there for about 2.5 months. I mean, it was a very wonderful experience, and I went willingly. They didn't some stories, people are taken in the middle of the night and they have to go because they're underage and they're just taken to this place. I went willingly. I looked at the website and I was like, oh yeah, I need help. Of course, because I thought I had all the problems. I totally blamed myself. But my parent would promise me that they would clean up the house and they're so sorry, they're so guilty. I remember I came back from the wilderness program and the home was cleaned up a little bit. I probably was out of the house and they were like, oh my God, she's doing this for 2.5 months. I can't let her come back to the same situation. Like, they did understand it was wrong. And so they kind of cleaned it up. It wasn't great. And then I had, was it my 16th birthday maybe? I don't remember how old I was turning, but I had a birthday party at the house. Or like people just came. That was amazing. That was the first time I really had people come over. But then it got bad again. And 10 times worse after that. 10 million times worse. The refrigerator broke. We didn't have a refrigerator. All of the food in there was rotting. No one threw out the food. We couldn't have someone to come in and fix it because no one could come in the house. It'd be horrible. We started ordering takeout for meals. And all of the stuff from the takeout would not be thrown away. It would just be like put in the kitchen. The kitchen was unusable. It was disgusting. And I remember, oh my God, it was disgusting. There were like bugs, like little gnats flying around. I had to go to CVS to get one of those sticky strips that you like put on the ceiling. And I put it like one in the living room and then one right by my door, so they all would like go in the sticky strip, and I would like quickly close the door. It was really felt like a little safe haven in my room. But that's probably why my parent wanted to sleep in there all the time, which is not okay. At that point I had like a little trundle bed still, like a day bed that had a trundle bed, and my parent kept on wanting, oh my God, I fucking hated that. It's very hard when you're living in that situation to realize that it is abuse. It is a form of abuse to live like that, 100%. Even if the abuse is neglect, it's abuse. I did the best that I could in that situation, and I'm sure you all did the best that you could, because it's very hard as a child to take up the role as being responsible for the home when you're young. That's not supposed to be your role. It was very difficult to function at school while having to come home every day to this disgusting landfill, is what it felt like. I started to feel so disgusting, as if And the terminology that I used with my therapist when I was working on this was, I felt like an ogre, this disgusting, ugly, like foul thing. And like monster almost is what it feels like. I realized that the reason why I was feeling like this ogre was because I felt infected by the home. Like the home was seeping onto me, and everywhere I would go you would see the home, because it was this big secret and I would have to keep it and no one could know about it. And I felt like I looked and I developed acne all over my forehead and my chin. And I felt like this ugly, 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 foul is the word, like foul ogre. That made it really hard to function as like a young girl. And at one point I decided, I'm going to tell my godparent. I think they kind of knew the situation, but they didn't really know the extent of it because I didn't really talk about it. And I finally told them I don't have a fridge, as a joke. I think it was like, they were like, oh, well, you can take these leftovers. And I was like, nah, I can't. I don't have a fridge. And she was like, what? You don't have a fridge? What is going on? And I was like, oh, is that such a bad thing? I didn't really process how horrible it was, because what do you do with that information? You understand it's horrible and disgusting and you have to keep going there. I 100% think that the disassociation was a coping mechanism that I did to survive. So we have this like conversation. I finally realized, oh my God, this is really bad. And I made the decision to run away. I ran away. I packed a suitcase filled with clothes that weren't clean because I didn't do the laundry yet. And I was going to do it at my godparents' house. I think I was a little over 18 at that age. So, like my parent couldn't say, oh, my child's been kidnapped by, I was of age. And I ran away and I have not lived there since. I went to college. I stayed in a dorm. Then I stayed in apartments with roommates. Now I have my own apartment with my boyfriend, which is cool. So that kind of wraps up the story for the most part. Yeah. Okay, so now we know how horrible it was. And I'm sure you all have your own horrible, heart-wrenching experiences. If you feel comfortable, I would love it if you could share some of it. Let's try and make room for each other and come together with our similarities and make room for our differences. So in the comments below, let me know, what was your experience like? How did you get through it? What helped you? And let's talk to each other, respond to each other, just so that we develop this support group kind of situation. And we don't feel alone with this. I don't want anyone to feel alone with this. I know that I felt so entirely alone, and that was one of the worst things for it, because I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Yeah. Let me know what else you want to see. I want to do the video about lasting effects of living in a hoarder home. There are positive things. And I've had a lot of space. I haven't lived in there for a while, so I do have a lot of space from it, so I can analyze the situation a little bit better than maybe someone who is currently living in it now. I want to talk about my adoption, if anyone's curious. I could talk about taking care of a parent, like taking care of an older parent at a young age, because that shit is so fucking hard. I'm doing it right now and it's so complicated and very hard. This is a very depressing video. I want to put out other content too that's not very depressing, like my makeup routine or a vlog. I'm excited to start this journey. I'm definitely nervous, but I am excited. I will walk with you along your journey. All I ask is that you walk along with me on mine. Okay. Until next time. Bye. Hello. I know that I look a little crazy. What an outfit change. Not wearing any makeup and I have my glasses on. But I realized that when I was watching the footage that I already had, that I didn't include this card that I got from doing a reading with this deck. It's so amazing. It's all women. It's so cool. They're oracle cards. And I did a card reading to give me empowerment for making that video, or this video. And I got, this is one of the cards called Weeping Wound. And the title of it says, "You are not your wounds." And I just wanted to read to you 2 main points from that because it helped me a lot, or it gave me a very empowering, mantra-like phrase, and I want to share it with you guys. Okay, so the first one is, often expressing the depth of our pain to another frees us to experience life beyond the hurt and horror. To have another bear witness to the injured parts of ourselves has the power to release us from the unbearable pain and heal. The second one is, your greatest hurt has the potential to become your greatest power if and only if you show up for whatever it takes to complete the process. I love it. So there you go. There's a little oracle message. Okay, bye.